Now, I know I have issues. I know I do the people pleasing thing because I want to be liked. I know all of that about myself. But there is no way in hell I would say, no, I don't want to watch your dog. I'm not going to say that.
Like, I remember when I asked him to move out and how
Mm,
freaking painful that was. But I knew he was afraid, and I knew he wasn't stepping up to the plate, and I knew he needed to move out. So overwhelm is huge. And the problem is overwhelm can turn into anger. So
mhm.
anger is a sign of not having good boundaries. Blaming others is a sign of not having good boundaries.
Welcome to Amy Liz Harrison's podcast, Eternally Amy, a mum of eight's journey from jail to joy, a Gen Xer who overcame her struggle with alcohol to become a best-selling author and mental health advocate. She shares stories of hope and offers ideas for others struggling with mental health challenges. One thing is for sure, you'll leave with something to chew on. And now, here's your host, Amy Liz Harrison.
Okay, welcome back. It's me, Amy Liz Harrison, and Dr. Sarah Michaud, and we are both so excited to talk about today's book. We have spent the past month reading, and now I can't remember the actual name of the book because I don't have it in front of me, but it's Boundaries.
Set Boundaries, Find Peace by Nedra Glover Tawwab.
Thank you.
If I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Yeah, super helpful. Thank you so
Yes.
much. And I got to tell you, I mean, there's not one book that we have read that I'm like, oh, this just really was a loser. Like, ugh, you know? I mean, I've gotten something out of all of them.
Right.
But this one, oh, yeah. I mean, I know you've read this before too. So I would love to just kick the ball your way, Dr. Sarah, and just hear, about your thoughts on this. What stuck out this time? What stuck out last time, maybe? What did you think?
No, I mean, I think I said to you, a sponsee sent me this book like a year ago, and I had just looked at it, but I had not read it from cover
Oh,
to
my
cover.
bad. Okay.
Yeah, so that's okay. But it was great. What I find so fascinating is, to me, it's really, it's such just a language thing, because I feel like I call codependency like all the stuff she's talking about, but
Yes.
she puts codependency in a very small kind of arena. But all of this stuff, I thought she really outlined it well. She gave good examples. I wrote a bunch of notes that we can, talk about, signs that you need boundaries. What do you do when people push back on your boundaries? What are the
Yes.
types of boundaries? What do weak boundaries look like? What do strong boundaries look like? I mean, the only thing, and we can talk about this at the end, that I sometimes feel is missing from some of these books is, like they say, take an action, make a request and take an action. But like we've talked about before, if it was that easy, why isn't anybody doing it? Or why
Yes.
isn't everybody doing it?
Right.
And I feel like sometimes they don't get to kind of the deeper issue of what makes it so hard to do this stuff. So anyways,
Yeah.
those are my thoughts. Yeah.
I love that. And gosh, I've looked at boundaries. I've read so many boundaries books over time. And what I thought was kind of interesting about this one, and now I'm getting a little bit confused as to whether or not this was actually in the book or maybe one of the podcast episodes that I listened to featuring
Yes.
her when she was talking about the book.
That's
But
okay.
you know, um, I loved it. I'm going to say this, but I'm also going to just piggyback on what you just said about like some of these books, yeah, if it were that easy, everyone would be doing it. So I think I was listening to something that she said, or maybe it is in the book, but she said um, an example, or she gave an example of
Yeah.
how one would set a boundary with
Yes.
like a friend who said, can you watch my dog this weekend?
Yes.
And she said, basically like inside, you really don't want to watch the dog.
Right.
So all you do is say, I'm sorry, I don't want to watch your dog. And I was like,
No.
I am never going to say that. Now, I know I have issues. I know I do the people pleasing thing because I want to be liked. I know all of that about myself. But there is no way in hell I would say, no, I don't want to watch your dog. I'm not going to say that. And so I don't know. That was the only thing where I was like, no, I think we need some practical strategies on how to literally really respond. I'm not sure. Maybe she does that in real life, and props to her. But I don't know too many people.
No, but that's a great example, and I thought the same thing. She gave a couple of examples of ways to communicate, and I had the same thought, like I wouldn't say it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone asked me to watch their dog and I really didn't feel capable or like I didn't want to do it, I'd just say, wow, I'm so sorry. I just am not available to do that. And I will help you. I would say it in a way that isn't so kind of, and again, one of the issues, and I can give some examples of this too, that I really appreciate, and Finn and I talk about on the podcast a lot, is this idea of lack of clarity and wishy-washiness.
Yeah.
And when I think of my boundary issues presently, that's literally Tom and I, my sweetheart, it literally just happened last weekend, where we both have codependency. And sometimes what'll happen is we get really wishy-washy. I'll say, gee, do you want to do such and such? And he'll say, well, and finally, we kind of don't answer the direct question. And what I said to him last weekend was, it's really frustrating. Like what I see very clearly lately is when someone isn't clear with me and wishy-washy, it doesn't feel good. So like I often think, oh, I have to be codependent, or I can't set the boundary and say I want to do A and because of, A instead of B, because their feelings are going to get hurt or something. But what I'm recognizing more and more is clarity, said in the appropriate way, just saves people so much time and torture. Like the back and forth wishy-washiness really for me is getting so old, and it just doesn't work. And it's out of fear.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've heard the saying like clear is kind.
Yes.
And sometimes I wonder, am I clear? I hope I'm clear. And so I've been trying to work on, because I have a tendency to like answer someone's question and then I sort of just start talking because I have like ADHD and like something else came into my mind about it or whatever. And so what I've been trying to do now is at the end of whatever tangent I've like just verbally spoken, I'll go, so just to clarify, or just to loop back, and I'll try and create like, did we meet on the same page? You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Because I think that's a great tool though.
Yeah.
I think that's a great tool because you're kind of, and actually just in the part I read recently, she said to ask people like, did you get what I was saying? Did I come across clearly? Like that's really helpful, I think.
Yeah.
Because, two things. One thing you made me think of is sometimes when we set boundaries, and this is the really hard part, is someone will, it's funny because they gave examples. Someone may push back. They may test the limit. They may ignore you. They may defend their boundary crossing. They may make you feel guilt. They may just ignore what you say. And so often over the years, a patient would come in and say, well, I tried. I said blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, just because someone didn't respect it, like, doesn't mean the game's over. But that, for some reason, when it takes so long to speak a boundary sometimes, Then when someone pushes back, they're like, okay, it's over.
Right.
And we give up rather
Yes.
than addressing it again.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's so key that you said that, because it makes me think of family relationships, right? Because
Of course.
sometimes, the healthier we get, if we're working on ourselves or if we're in a program or whatever, it's like then we sort of realize, okay, I'm swimming this way and my family's still back here or whatever, and they're
Yes.
swimming this way. And it's just hard because you somehow realize we're not speaking the same language anymore. And then for the person who is trying to then set some healthy boundaries,
Yes.
it's tough because it's like you're changing the dance steps
Yes.
on the other people, and
Yes.
they don't, they're sort of like, well, wait, this isn't what you usually do.
Yes.
You usually let me come over and stay for 2 weeks and bed rot on your couch. Like, why are you saying no this time? Or what? Do you know what I mean? And so I think that that's one of the hardest, things to do is change, it's like, it feels like changing the direction of a big ocean liner. Like,
Yes.
and it's tough.
Yes.
But I love that you said it doesn't mean the game's over, because we do have to work on this stuff and work on how we communicate it, and particularly in a way that a person will understand it. I mean, I know
Yes.
that there are some relationships in my life that require boundaries, and I have to write them out in a letter,
Yes.
because otherwise I'll get caught in a verbal, not altercation, but like this circular discussion. And it
Yes.
doesn't feel good at all to me. And I know it doesn't feel good to the other person. And
Yes.
then the person is becoming argumentative. And then I feel like I'm self-abandoning because it's just a whole thing.
Yes. It ends up in a cycle. It's so interesting because you're making me think of the over explaining. Like
Mm,
so often, early on when I would set boundaries, I'd feel like I need to like give a long explanation of why I couldn't do the thing. Or, like, geez,
yeah.
no, I can't pick you up in the airport because my son needs me to help him move that day. Or like you go into this huge long explanation. And the thing is, we just can say, gosh, no, I can't pick you up at the airport. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But, and I think that's a huge piece
Yeah.
is like shutting it kind of after we set the boundary or when we respond. Because a lot of times, what I was just thinking of? It's not just over explaining. It's like when we say no and then we feel like we got to give a reason for all this stuff, right? Instead of just saying it. And I think it does muddy the waters. You know what I mean? Or we get hooked into like trying to fix the other person's feelings about it rather
Yeah.
than just saying it and letting them have their feelings. I mean, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's so hard because, we can't control other people's reactions, right? And so it just feels so scary sometimes. Like,
Yes.
what if I'm going to lose this relationship or whatever? And so I
Yes.
wonder, I actually wonder if the framing would make a difference. Like,
Tell me.
if I started, say I'm going to set a boundary, and this is a relationship that I really value and care about. What if I framed it in that way and just said, you know what? I love you so much. I really wish I could watch your dog. And I really don't want the fact that I'm going to say no to affect our relationship or
Yes.
whatever it is. So that
Yes.
I don't look like the hard ass who's just like, no, I'm not gonna, yeah, I can't do it. Sorry. But
Yes.
like, because there are some relationships, every relationship's different, right? Where we might need to set a boundary, but some of them it's like, I'm going to be vulnerable and share with you my fear that this is going to change our relationship, but
No,
I
but you're
can't do
so,
it.
You're saying a brilliant thing, and it's funny because I was thinking something similar in the sense of oftentimes what so helps is just naming what's happening. So, like you're giving the example with the dog, or, I have to set a limit with my son or something. Like, I remember when I asked him to move out and how freaking painful that was. But I knew he was afraid, and I knew he wasn't stepping up to the plate, and I knew he needed to move out. I needed him to move out. And I said to him, this is so hard for both of us. I
Yeah.
hate to even have to do that. Like, I named kind of
Yes.
what was the experience was like.
Yeah.
And I said, but Bud, I know this is going to be the best thing for you. It's going to be the best thing for me. And it's time you kind of launched and got your own place. And so, I mean, like you're saying, with people that are our close people, I think just kind of naming how challenging it is.
Yeah.
I think that helps. The other thing is when women get sober, I mean, we've probably talked about this before. One of the huge things is that I've talked endlessly with folks about is they had never really set boundaries with their kids while they were drinking out of
Yep.
their guilt of drinking.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so then they get sober and now they're suffering the consequences of no boundaries. And the kids are kind of just all over the place. And then they start setting boundaries, and the kids, like you say, they might push back a little because they're not used to it. But and then the parent may feel guilty because, oh, I'm hurting. So it's a really hard thing to get sober and to know that the best thing you can do for your relationships with your kids is set some boundaries because they want to feel safe. They actually want boundaries. But that's a really hard arena I just had recognized over the years with clients.
It's so true. That's so true. The whole kid thing. And
Yes.
I've found the example that comes to mind for me and my house is my first three kids now, almost my fourth also, they're all old enough to drink.
Got it.
And so in my house, like when you come over, I'm not one of those people who's like, hey, yeah, bring over your booze, light it up. Like I'm not comfortable with it at all. And I'm not comfortable with it. I don't know why. I don't
It's
think
okay.
that's a problem. It might be, but I don't think it is. But my kids know that about me. And we've had conversations, direct conversations about that. And sometimes that has been respected and sometimes it hasn't.
Yep.
But we've talked about all of those times. And there have
Yes.
been some pretty non-glamorous consequences
Yeah.
where I'm like, well, gosh, unfortunately, remember when we laid out,
Yes.
that this is our house, we need you to respect these rules, because we also, not only is this my personal, it doesn't sync with anything that I stand for, which is sobriety and recovery,
Yes.
being comfortable with being uncomfortable, just being yourself.
Yes.
None of that works. And also because we have four little kids in the house, and it's just that stuff can be crunchy,
Yes.
but also worth it. And I think
Yes.
that's like the big thing is it's like anything else that's just crunchy, right? It's like just to get through that conversation and to be honest and vulnerable, or as honest and vulnerable as possible, to get to the other side is,
Yes. Yes.
is worth it. But ugh. And
It's
sometimes it just
go.
go ahead.
Go. No, finish
No,
your thought.
the only thing I was going to say is sometimes it doesn't work out as expected when one
No.
sets a boundary. And so That's one thing I really wanted to not forget to talk to you about because I wanted to hear your thoughts on when you set a boundary with someone and they don't respect it and they continue to not respect it. And let's say it's a relationship where, maybe it's a family relationship, like
Yep.
extended family. And you really don't, it's not like you could sever it, but you sort of feel like that would be a very extreme thing to do.
Yep.
Um, and so it's sort of like, okay, it's not like somebody is doing something physically harmful to me. Like I'm not at that level of like you're disrespecting me, but
Yep.
yet I also want to be able to set a boundary and have you respect it. It's like, how do we navigate that? Because sometimes there are some individuals, and she brought up in one thing that I read in there, or one of the podcasts I listened to with her about, she was saying the most challenging relationship statistically is mother-in-laws. And I was like, yeah,
That's
totally.
interesting.
I
No,
know.
that's really good. So many things you brought up. All right, I wrote notes. Um, the first thing about the alcohol in the house thing, and to me, it's a self-respect. I mean, you're the
Yeah.
mom, you have a boundary. I mean, it's again, because I can see it, I'm like, it's a no-brainer. And I just want you to know, though, that over the years of seeing people, this issue was such a big deal. I mean, and I think what we should talk about, and I definitely get to the mother-in-law thing, is the consequences of not having boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, geez, sometimes I would have these women that they said, well, I keep alcohol in the house. I mean, my husband drinks occasionally. But then what would happen is over 3 months, they'd become enraged because they let the alcohol be in the house. And then they'd get pissed if their husband, it's like because they felt guilty or what. It's like, no, what is the truth? I don't want alcohol in my house. And the fact is, if someone loves you and cares about you, and doesn't have their own stuff around it, it's a no-brainer. It's like, well, of course I would support you. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Why would there even be a question? So that's the other thing she talked about, which she described healthy relationships. And she was like, look, if you have true healthy relationships, hopefully you have some of them, you're going to set a boundary and they're going to go great. Or they're going to say, wow, that hurts, but I understand it. You're going to have a conversation about it. So people in your life that love you and want you to be happy and want you to be able to take care of yourself are going to honor and respect it. So that whole drinking in the house thing, though, that was such an issue with clients over the years, and their struggles with just asking for what they needed. But I'm telling you, it would end up in disaster when they didn't. And
Yeah.
okay, so the other thing, what we're talking about is if we don't respect our own boundaries and we kind of rationalize or we deny or we say it's not that important, sure, they can drink if they want or whatever the issue is. What are the consequences? And she had her examples were burnout, depression, anxiety. I put down an overwhelm, like nobody, I always know when someone doesn't have boundaries when they're always like in a state of overwhelm. I have a friend who's always in a state of overwhelm. Oh my God, I'm too late for work. Well, because that's a sign that they're not able to set boundaries either with their boss or with their partner or their kids. So overwhelm is huge. And the problem is overwhelm can turn into anger. So anger is a sign of not having good boundaries. Blaming others is a sign of not having good boundaries. Anxiety it'll also come out. Like I know really codependent people that end up having physical problems, headaches, stomach aches, medical issues. So not having good boundaries, there's a huge, huge cost. And I mean,
Yes.
I think people don't recognize that part either. So
Yeah.
now we're talking about, you brought up the topic of boundaries with someone who you want to keep in your family and you want to, you love and your partner loves, but how do you take care of yourself when you're around them? That is the question. And I think it's tricky, like you're saying, do you end up minimizing the importance of what you need?
Right.
And another question I have is, does your husband, when he's around you and around the mother-in-law, back you up?
Right. Right. So, yeah. I can answer that.
Yeah, answer it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So, and I feel comfortable sharing about this because she brought it up. The author
Okay.
brought it up.
All
So
right.
I
I
was like,
didn't know if
okay,
the
I'm not
Madam Slim.
alone.
Okay.
But yeah. So in the beginning of we've been married almost 30 years, right? So in the beginning, the answer was no. He did not back me up. And that was not good. It
Yes.
was borderline horrifying for me, because I found it just very alarming and off-putting.
Yes.
And my natural tendency, because of ADHD and just rejection sensitivity and all of that stuff, and then of course untreated like turmoil and like small t traumas, like just I didn't have any tools. So I
Yes.
thought, well, I guess I'm wrong, right? I guess, okay, this is on me. I guess I'm wrong. And I just continued over a period of like a decade and a half to feel this oil and water type situation. And most of it was based on religious differences,
Oh, got it. Fascinating.
isn't it? And so, what ended up happening when I got sober was, my sponsor suggested, why don't you write a letter that completely lays out, and I had completed the steps at this point,
Yeah.
lays out your boundaries, and then it can be in writing, email it to her, whatever. And it felt so awkward. Oh my gosh. But there was just, because there were like specifics on there, like, we can't talk about like religion. I felt like, here's how I felt. I felt like I was being that person who's like, that saying, better to wear slippers than carpet the world. I
Got it.
felt like I was asking her, like I was trying to carpet the world. And I kind of felt like I was setting the whole thing up for failure. Like, okay, you need to come and live inside this is how you need to treat me. And it felt so crunchy because of that. But when I stood back and I looked at what I was looked at what I was asking, it was things like, hey, do you mind, not like taking my wrapping paper and wrapping all of your Christmas presents that you're bringing back to your house with it? Do you think maybe you could just ask me instead of assuming that that's fine? Or could you maybe, it was like not big deals, like in my mind anyway. Oh, I know what the other one was. Could you maybe, when you are jet lagged in the middle of the night and can't sleep, could you maybe not look through all of our cabinets and cupboards and drawers, and then in the morning ask me questions about specific items in those cabinets and drawers? So what I'm saying is they weren't like really big deals. In terms of like, these aren't these are kind of universal asks for just basic sort of privacy and basic.
It's intrusiveness. That's what it
It's
feels like.
intrusiveness. And
Yeah.
so it bothered me so much before I wrote that letter. It bothered me that she was doing it, that kind of stuff, but I never had the verbiage for it because I didn't, it was so foreign to me that someone
Yes.
would think that that stuff was fine. And also, I realized eventually, oh, we not only have religious differences, we have cultural differences. We have differences that she has one personality and comfort level with things, and I have another.
Yes.
And so what I'm taking a long time to say is it helped me not to take it so personally.
Personally. Right. Yeah, it wasn't personal and it was upsetting. And what comes clear to me is that she was violating your boundaries. Like, I think the reason you got upset is because really someone was violating your boundaries and you're like, oh my God, what do I do? I mean, it's hard.
Yes.
Because, like you say, we could say, oh, geez, in her culture, they all share everything or they look through stuff. And it doesn't even matter because it's really about, okay, it's not personal, but these are my needs. Like I can't discuss things in the morning about, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so you're right. It's totally uncomfortable. And I think that it's so important because we don't think about the costs. And I think if one thing happens after the next, after the next, after the next, it accumulates. And then we
Yes.
start getting all these resentments and then it starts coming out in these other ways. So it is hard, especially with close people. It's so funny you're saying, not funny, ha ha, but when I first met Tom, oh my gosh, this is wild to think about now. So his mother lives a couple of states over. And he said, I really want to go down and visit my mom. She's 85 and her husband is sick and it would be really nice for you to meet her. And so I said, okay. I said, can you get an Airbnb? And he goes, huh? He said, we always stay at my mother's place. I was like, what? Like to me, that I'm staying at your 85-year-old parents' house. It's a little condo. Like we're going to be in the next bedroom. Like
No.
I was so, and
Yeah.
so I really had to think about that, Amy. I was like, okay, this is his belief that you always stay with your parents. That's what you do. That's what he'd done his whole life with other relationships. And my thing was I never stay with people. I always get my own place. It's just who I am. Yeah. And yet it's so it's like trying to negotiate what people need and get your own needs met. And so oftentimes, so the first time I said, I'll stay one night and then we're going to go to a hotel. And he's like, I can't tell my mother we're going to a hotel. And I mean, he's 60 something years old, baby, and he can't set a boundary with his mother. And it's like, and I would say that basically to him, you're 63 years old, your mother's 85, and you still, well, she might be her. Yes, she might be, and she might not be. And you know what the irony is? She doesn't care one way or the other. It was his fear of hurting her feelings.
Wow.
And you know what? To be honest with you, what she cared about was having dinner with her. But after dinner, they're 85. They don't want to entertain and take care of you. Like, go. So it's just so interesting because you're absolutely right. It's two different, you and your husband, like you have these two histories and trying to not make something right or wrong, but figuring out like what works and what doesn't. Yeah. I mean,
Totally.
absolutely.
And I mean, thank God today, like we have learned, and my husband is like a complete opposite from what he was when we first got married.
Right.
I mean, and I think a lot of this is learned through experience, right?
Yes.
We have had so many altercations, like over the, like,
Yes.
not just him and me, but like shouting matches and stuff
Yes.
along life's way with those
Yes.
in-laws that, he and I have really learned exactly what you said. We
Yes.
have to stay in a separate place.
Yes.
And so when we go over there, we make the rules. We will come see,
Yes.
everybody for dinner every night, but we are staying in a totally separate place and we're doing our thing all day. Like we're there with our kids. We want to see the country, where your dad grew up, blah blah blah, and so we do our own thing. And there has been some attempts at manipulating the situation to try to get us to do more and be there in the house and all of this. And we just have had to say, that's not going to work. This will work. Or, attempts to manipulate the dates that we can
Yes.
attend because they're
Oh,
not available as much or as often as they would be if they came here, like on these, particular. And it was like, no, so this is the offering. Take
yes.
it or leave it.
It's
because
so good though.
because we have to protect our own peace and we have to
Yes.
protect, because I'm a raving lunatic if I don't do that with this particular set of folks. It's like,
Yes.
and I self-abandon pretty quickly. Like
Yes.
it will take not very long. And the other thing that I have realized that helps is being around more people so that it's not just my husband and me and them. It has
Yes.
like the more people who are around, the better. And things are more comfortably um said when it's just a smaller group. And so to avoid those incendiary topics and to sort of inadvertently remind them, we're not going to talk about religion and we're not going to talk about, this person and their affair with that person and in the church and blah, blah. We're not going to do that. We're not going to go there. And so what's helpful is to have more people around so
Yes.
that those conversations can't really be had. So we've
Yes.
learned these little tricks over
Yes.
time, but it kind of stinks. But that's the other thing. I've had to let go of the expectation. She said it in the book. She said, most people are not friends with their or not close to their
Yes.
mother-in-laws. And I was
Right.
like, oh, okay. I didn't know that. So that was helpful
Liberating.
too. And also, if you've been one of those people who was somehow really counting on that, maybe you don't, maybe your mother has passed, or maybe there's some reason you were really hoping it would work out, to kind of allow ourselves to grieve over the hopes and dreams that we had for individual relationships that didn't really turn out the way that we had hoped. And I mean,
Oh, so good. So good. It's so true. I mean, I'm trying to think of the great quote in, I think it was Cloud and Townsend's book on
oh yeah.
boundaries, right? And there was a great quote about that, something around that we, something, I can't remember the beginning of it, but we avoid setting a boundary or speaking up or whatever. And it's all about, we don't want to, instead of grieving what really we may not ever have with them. You know what I mean? Like it's so hard to accept that some people, we may not have this certain type of relationship with. Right. And it's grieving that it won't be. That's a huge deal. Absolutely.
Huge.
Yeah,
It's
having expectations for certain things and then it doesn't happen.
yeah.
And also it's good to, I think, get perspective sometimes too, in the sense of like I don't, I can get all wound up about certain relationships of people that like I see maybe twice a year.
I know.
I completely lose perspective around the relationship, maybe because it's a tricky one. So yeah, really great point. Um, I think two other things, just to read off what examples of a weak boundary, a person with
Oh,
weak
yes.
boundaries and
Let's
rigid
do it.
boundaries. So I got
Yes.
these examples. So someone with the weak boundaries, and this is so funny because I think about when I first got sober, oversharing, check.
Yep.
Codependency, check.
Yep.
Enmeshment, check. Can't say no, check. People pleasing, check. Dependency on feedback or acceptance or validation from others, check.
Uh,
Fear of being rejected, and accepting mistreatment. All those things are examples of having weak boundaries. And then rigid boundaries, right? I mean, yeah. Rigid boundaries, never sharing, repression, building walls with people, not being intimate, not being vulnerable, cutting people out the minute you have a problem with them, having high expectations of others, and enforcing really strict rules. So, I mean, it's really, I think boundaries are just finding what works. And sometimes I think to have good boundaries is all about addressing, just like you've said, fear of tolerating uncomfortable feelings. I mean, in the end, that's really what it's all about. It's how can I tolerate this discomfort?
yes.
And yeah, I mean, it's simple. I mean, that's a simple answer, but it's really what it's about.
It
Whether
really
it's
is.
discomfort about me or discomfort about them having feelings or whatever.
It really is. And I loved I want to hear your other thought. You said you had two, so I don't want to interrupt, but
Oh,
I
no,
just
no,
want
go
to
ahead.
say really quick that that I love that she also said like, hey, boundaries aren't they don't have to be forever. Like maybe right now with this person it needs to be like this, but it can change. And I loved that because we forget. We're like, oh God, like I've got to set up a boundary and then I've got to become a police officer and enforce
Why?
this for 2 decades. And like, no, you don't. Like you just let things unfold. And like, yeah,
Yes.
for now it needs to be this way. But who
So
knows?
good.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah. And relationships change and kids get older and the dynamic changes or your dynamic with friends changes or whatever. Absolutely. Great point. The only other thing that I thought was very cool was talking about self boundaries, which I hadn't really heard that term.
So
So
good.
she
Yes.
said, when you engage in something that you don't enjoy, you are taking time away from yourself. Like that we say yes to things that we really don't want to do.
Yeah.
And then this is the codependency thing. Number two, when you get distracted by other people's stuff, it takes time away from you. So when we get caught up in other people's drama, it takes away from us. And
Yeah.
then the third thing is when you commit to things that you don't have time for, it takes away from your own having time for your own goals. And those are all kind of, you use the term self-abandonment. It's
Yep.
where we abandon ourselves.
Yeah.
And again, it's like the cost of that is living a life you really don't want to live. It's
Right.
doing things you don't want to be doing. And it goes back to that, what do I need? What do I want? What works for me? What doesn't work for me? And that was another thing she talked about. Like, that's really simplistically what boundaries are. It's expressing, when I say yes and when I say no. I mean,
Yes.
really, right?
Oh, such a good, like, that's such a good wrap up to the whole
Yes.
thing because
Yes.
it's just, that's
Yes.
the bottom line because at the end of the day, it's like, who do I need to live with? I need to live with
Yes.
myself and my own
Yes.
choices and the fallout of those choices. And I got to lay my head at night on the pillow with me and, feel decent about, how I've treated myself that day.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So anybody that's watching this, I would let us know what people are challenging in your life to set boundaries with. Is it your kid? Is it your mother-in-law? Is it your husband, your wife? And what things work for you? What are some tips that you guys have, or what tools that you guys have, or what's been helpful? Would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh,
Yeah.
my cup is so filled. Thank you, Dr. Sarah. And thank you, everybody listening and watching. Love you. Let's go set those boundaries.
Love you.
Thank you so much for listening to Eternally Amy, a mum of eight's journey from jail to joy. Amy Liz Harrison is a best-selling author, speaker, 12-step coach, meditation teacher, and recovery advocate. To find out more, please visit amylizharrison.com. You can keep up with Amy on all platforms by following at Amy Liz Harrison. Please subscribe and review this podcast. It means so much to us if you do.